They're sick as fuck. Welcome to the Mouthpiece, episode 12, year 1. It's World Series of Poker time. Today, we have two guests. One, my good friend, Eric Rodawig, and also an interview with Kevmath. So, stay tuned, buckle up, here on the Mouthpiece. All right, welcome to the Mouthpiece, episode 12. I'm not going to really talk much because I'm really busy. If you want to know what's going on with me at the World Series, go to my YouTube channel, Mike the Mouth, and you'll have daily video vlogs, what's going on with each tournament I play. Also, I think there's only 5 or 10%. The most there is 10% in any tournament left. So if you still want to buy pieces of me, in these 10Ks, go to ustake.com. That's ustake.com. See if I have anything left available. The 10K Omaha 8 tomorrow is definitely sold out. It's been sold out for 2 weeks, and I'm almost sold out of everything. So take a look, buy yourself a small piece, enjoy this week's segment on the Mouthpiece with my friend Eric and my friend Kevmath. Enjoy.
The Mouthpiece.
If you'd like to take part in our phone call segment, you can give us a call at 702-329-0480. And if you're a snowflake or a pussy and you don't want to talk to me, you can email me at mouthpiecepodcast@gmail.com. Also, follow me at the Mouth Matiso on Twitter for times that our call-in segment will be live. Okay, it's my favorite part of the show where we take your phone calls. This week I'm real busy, so I found myself one nice, beautiful phone call. So let's hear what he has to say. Welcome to the Mouthpiece. This is Mike.
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Good, buddy. Who's this?
This is Grant from Pittsburgh.
Hey, buddy. What are you doing up at 3 in the morning from Pittsburgh?
Oh, I work till midnight, so I'm just hanging out and just following some of the World Series the events, catching up on some of the updates.
Yeah, I know. It's look, tomorrow will be the end of week 1 of the World Series. I've only actually played 2 events. I made it deep into day 3 of the first one, and then I got kind of screwed on day 2 the other day. So I saw your deep day 3 run. That was pretty nice though. It's not a bad way to start out. For the it was
week.
great, and I wanted to play the 1500 horse today, but they run it the day before my best event, the 10K 08. So I took another day off. So after today, then I play the 08 tomorrow. Then I'll just be turn every day. But I do have a rule that if I go deep into day 3, I take the next day off no matter what, and that's going to keep me sharp. Because when you play 3 straight days, 12-hour days or whatever, it takes a lot out of you, and it's good to keep your with all the meds I'm on and pain I'm in a lot of times now. I have been pain-free for the World Series so far, but it's important to me to keep myself sharp. So,
absolutely, for sure.
Any questions you have for me tonight?
I'm trying to learn some more of the mixed games, like preferably deuce to 7 low ball single draw.
Okay.
Do you have any recommendations of the best places to get some information on it? Or
well, I was really good at it, and I still am good at it, but I don't play it that much. It's actually the game that busted me yesterday on day 2 of the dealer's choice. What's good about no limit deuce is it's a game of position. It's very important. When somebody raises and you call, or you re-raise if you have a pat hand, or if you have what we call a convertible. A convertible is when, let's say you get dealt deuce 3, 4, 7, jack, or deuce 3, 4, 7, 10, or some kind of really good 8 draw or really good 7 draw. And then you 3-bet because you have a pat hand, and then the guy 4-bet jams on you. Okay, now you call, and even when some people will 4-bet jam on a draw, and once you call and you're in position, he doesn't know what to do. So a lot of times he'll draw. But if he has a pretty solid hand and he thinks you might be on a draw, he'll stay pat, in which way you can now break your convertible, your jack, or your
it forces
10.
you to draw, whereas if he's going to pat, then
Correct.
you know to draw, where if he draws, you know you most likely should pat then at that point.
Correct. And the most important thing about no limit deuce is in no limit hold'em, you have to watch the guy's reaction with his hand pre-flop, post-flop, turn, and river. So you have to watch his reaction 4 times. In no limit deuce, if they're drawing and you're in position, and even if you're drawing, you don't ever look at your cards. You just stare him right dead in the eye, and you look
try to get a read on him
you
first.
look how he looks at his cards. If you're good at reading people, you know when they've hit or they missed. But when I won the No Limit Deuce in 2008, now I've also been I've been to that final table 3 times. The very key hand I won, I bring it up to Jeff Lissandro, and he thinks I'm crazy or denies it or whatever, but I know what I saw. He had raised, and I had re-raised, and I had a convertible, and he called. Actually, I didn't have a convertible. We were both drawing, but it was like blind versus blind. And he called the big raise, and he drew 1, and I drew 1. And I swear to God on my life, I never looked at my cards. I looked him dead in the eye, and I watched how he looked with sweat, and he's squeezing his cards one at a time. And for a split second, he just like shook his head like he missed, like, you know what I'm saying? And then he fucking bombs it, and I fucking didn't even look at my hand yet, and I fucking called, and he said straight. I looked down, and I had an ace. In other words, I could have paired top pair. I was drawing, I think, to a smooth 7 or an 8, but that made a difference. I knew that something was, he either paired top pair or had a straight, but I picked up on this. It was just the slightest thing, and that hand propelled me to winning the tournament. I talk about that hand a lot, and it's what you see. Now, it's no limit deuce when you get later in the tournament and stuff. It's really important because when you start raising, you don't really want to be calling like all ins on a draw. And a lot of the young kids now, they'll re-raise out of the blinds, and you really have to focus on whether they're making a move on you or not. It's really a great game because you only have to read one street. Remember that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
A lot of position play, and like you said, a lot of reading people as well.
It's a terrible game to play out of position, especially if you are drawing, because first of all, they're looking at you. They're trying to get a read whether you hit or not. If you check, if you miss or you're a little worried, and they bomb it and you don't have a read on them, it's tough to call when you're drawing on an 8 and you make a queen or a jack or even a 10 on the end. So it's in position. I'm the type of person that I'll never re-raise out of position drawing. I will always flat out of position, and even if I'm drawing smooth, like deuce 3, 4, 7, because I don't want to give away my hand that I'm drawing that smooth either. So there's lots of different ways to do. You could. It's kind of like the way I went broke. I called his 2000 raise with deuce 3, 6, 7. You think he had any clue that I was drawing to a 7? No. And I make an 8, but I give him respect for the check, and I blame myself for not looking him up and down, which I always do. Remember, it's 5 minutes into the day too. I had not settled in. After I bet like 6,000, I have 9,000 left, and there's 18 in the pot. I mean, you're just not folding an 8. I mean,
no, it's very tough. It was an 8-7 too. It's very tough to fold.
Give you an idea. Billy Baxter, when he's playing No Limit Deuce with people, they can all bet him $1,000, and he gives them 100 to 1. And anytime you get dealt an 8, you get paid 100,000. So he gives you that's to give you an idea what the odds of being dealt an 8 are, let alone a 7. So I probably the true odds being dealt an 8 are probably about 150. Billy always gets the best of it, but it's a great game. I hopefully I'm in another tournament deep. If not, I'll be playing it this year. It's not as valuable as it used to be, because when it used to have 5,000 with unlimited rebuys, boy, the prize pools got big. And now they got more people, and it's a 10,000, but they just added one re-entry last year, so that'll make it a little bit. But even so, the prize pool only gets to like 300 for first. I mean, it's nothing like it was when it was the unlimited, like when I won 586.
No, yeah, with the unlimited rebuys, it's definitely going to affect it for sure.
And all the players are good players, because you're not going to have randoms dump down 10,000 on a game they don't know well.
Yeah, I think it's hard. You can't learn at a 10,000 buy, and that's why the 1,500 at least is a little bit doable. Yeah, the 1,500
is good. I hated missing it, but the only reason why I missed it was I just went broke. A pot 7 versus an 8, 5 minutes into day 2, and they all said, "Well, go register the No Limit Deuce." I said, maybe I took it wrong. Maybe I was supposed to register No Limit Deuce. Maybe that's why I went broke in No Limit Deuce. But I was so pissed that I went broke in No Limit Deuce. How I got cooler. The farthest thing I wanted to do was jump in a No Limit Deuce tournament where you have to
deal with that for another 3 days.
Yeah, where you have to focus, and you literally do. I mean, you have every time somebody you have to watch every person, and it really is a game of reading people. People think you have to bluff a lot. You don't. When I won that tournament, I picked off so many bluffs, and I was right every time.
All right, I appreciate it, Mike.
I appreciate the call. Have a safe week, and see if I can win a bracelet for you. I'll talk to you later. All right,
sounds good, Mike. Good luck the rest of the series, man.
You got it. Peace. Bye.
All right, have a good one. Peace.
The Mouthpiece.
Welcome to the Mouthpiece. Today's guest, a special friend of mine who I get to see once a year at the World Series, Mr. Eric Rodawig. How's it going today, Eric?
Hey, Mike. Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. We're 1 week into the World Series, and I miss you, man. You said you're coming out, June 9th?
Yeah, I'm coming out Sunday, so I'll be there in time for your bracelet ceremony for the 10K Omaha 8.
You heard it. See, he knows, yes. And we're looking forward to seeing Eric. Now, for all you who don't know who Eric is, I don't blame you. Most people don't. But to me, he's one of the funnest guys to play with at the World Series of Poker. When I first met Eric, whenever he sat at my table, I licked my chops. And now when he sits on my table, I only lick half a chop.
I've gotten better listening to you over the last few years.
Yeah. And no, Eric is one of the most improved players. And he used to be a gambler. He used to gamble a lot more than... And then he realized, I got to reel it in a little bit. And he's made some final tables. I don't think you haven't won a bracelet yet, have you?
No, I beat your buddy Phil. Heads up.
Oh, yeah.
2011 10K Stud 8.
Yes. How can I forget? That's
you were there.
Right. I was there. And I made fun of Phil for like 3 days because of it. Because I'm like, how could you lose to Eric head up? I'm like, do you know what a goofball he is? And of course, anytime you rub it in Phil's face, it's always fun. Yes, I do remember that. And then I remember you were head up also in Stud 8 against Benny Glazer, right? Or was that against Andy?
No, I was.
You were head up against Block. right?
The 2017 10K horse, David Bach. Yeah.
David Bach, correct.
He won every hand heads up, unfortunately, so that didn't last very long.
Let's talk. Well, let's talk a little bit about that final table. That was a pretty stacked final table. Jason Mercier and Daniel came in the final 6 with all the chips. They had like 1.6 million each. What'd you start that final table with? Do you remember?
Oh, geez. I started the day with I think I was 11th of 13 to make it into day 3. I didn't have a ton of chips to start the final table, maybe 700 or a million.
Okay. So I like to talk a little bit about this tournament because this tournament I actually talk a lot about because that was 2 years ago when 5 people literally won a bracelet that had one big bet or less. And unfortunately for you, one of them was David Bach, who was all in the stud 8 for the ante, 40,000. Daniel had 1.6 still. Mercier had 1.6. And he came back from like a half a bet and ended up winning the tournament. So I'm sure you remember the hand. I wasn't there when he was all in for that 40K because he's told me this story many times. What's your recollection of that?
Well, David's a great player for sure. There were a few people who were all in. Jason Mercier was all in, and somehow I think he was all in with a 9, and he ended up running out a wheel against Andrew Brown and I. So,
oh, that's right. Andrew Brown was there too.
It was tough to take people out. He won a big hand off Don Zewin. I think Bach had kings, and they ended up holding. Don Zewin, I think, is a pretty tight player too. So,
yeah, he's tight. He's a solid player. Yeah, he's old school.
He got 3rd place in it the year before, I believe, in 2016. So 3rd place 2 years in a row, and the 10K horse is pretty good.
One of the very underrated players that nobody really knows much about. I think he's got at least 2 bracelets. He might have 3. I'm not sure. He's old school. We used to play 400, 800 every day together. Don Zewin's not the happiest person. We used to always joke about back in the day how unhappy he was. We used to say, man, we need to drop an ecstasy tab in one of his drinks and then he'll be a little bit more happy. And we all would laugh about it, right? And we're like, let's do it. But we never did. But he's always nice to me. He's not happy at the poker table. But, you know, some people take it. Some people, you know, it's their job. You know, they take everything serious, so they don't want to fuck around or joke around. Me, in the limit tournaments, as you know, I like to have fun as much as I can. In the no-limit tournaments, and this is what's hurt poker a lot, is because the stacks are so deep, everybody's gotten so good, you really can't joke around and have fun unless it's like day 1 of the main, because every single thing you miss could cost you the tournament. So that's one thing I like about the limit tournaments. Now, you're going to be out here June 9th. What do you plan on playing?
I have, I think, 11 tournaments on the schedule. 1,500 8-game will be the first one. 1,500 set 8, of course. 10K horse. And then head back home. I have a job, actually, which is why I'm not at the World Series the whole time. So
which I know. I know you have a job.
So
now,
why
don't you tell everybody, Mr. I have a job. What do you do?
So I've always been a semi-pro. So I've always been in banking and finance. Right now, I'm the finance director for a fertilizer startup. So we're helping farmers grow their corn. And helping everyone eat.
If Trump gets the that trade deal passed with China, the farmers are gonna make a lot of money. Right now they're hurting, but I think he's gonna get it done. But we'll see what happens there. You know.
Well, yeah, and they're hurting. There's been some bad weather, and there's been a lot of floods in the Nebraska and the Midwest. So we'll see what happens. They could certainly use some help.
Yeah. They definitely could. So I'll let you in a little bit about what's been going on at the World Series. Now, I don't know if you're going to like this or not. Like me knowing you, I don't think you're going to like this. So the 1500s, they've added 33% more chips, which sucks. They kept the levels the same, including back-to-back levels of 400 and 500, whatever. And they're not really losing enough players, and every 1500 is going 4 days. Now, with the Omaha 8 having 1,000 people, I didn't mind it. Like, I finished 17th and got 8,000. A friend, Miami John, he finished 13th or 14th today in Dealer's Choice and got 6,600. So, I mean, 4 days work, and if you finish 9th, you get 10 grand. It's really kind of depressing, actually. And so I had a schedule of playing a lot of these 1500s, but I'm not quite sure if I'm going to. Like today, I had to miss the 1500 horse, which is I consider either the second or third best tournament of the year, because somehow, some way, they put the 10K08 the next day. They usually never put mixed game then 10K of a mixed game back to back. They usually have at least a couple days in between. And with the new schedule, with them going 4 days, even if you're allowed to buy in on day 2 now in all the 10Ks with approximately 10 big bets, which 10 big, or actually it's 7.5 big bets. And 7.5 big bets in limit is an eternity. So even then, like the chances on a horse, if I make it to day 3, and day 3 would normally have 16 players and then play it out, they're now bringing like 40, 45 back on day 3s. So it's kind of sucks. It's a lot of work, and if you don't win, it's kind of disappointing. So,
well, I think on that structure it's hard, right? Because they have to balance the streaming schedule. So I know they want a final table to start at the same time every day.
Correct.
But for the 1500s, you're going to have recreational players playing those. You're going to have, business people playing those. I don't know how you get people. I mean, you got to take like a whole week off of work if you're going to play 1500, basically.
Right.
And
right.
I don't think that's conducive to getting,
yeah, and I was
really hard.
And I was looking at the schedule. We have the Omaha 8 tomorrow, and that's always been a 4-day tournament. I planned on playing the Millionaire Maker so let's just say Thursday, Friday, and I'm deep in day 3 Saturday. I could still late reg it till 8 o'clock at night, and if I miss it, I miss it. I'm not a big deal. And if I do that, then I go to what I'll do is I'll play the 10K no limit deuce. I don't know why that's scheduled for 4 days. I mean, those things go pretty quick without a re-entry. I think it's one re-entry. Then they got Sunday, the 1500 8-game mix. Sunday's the 8-game mix, right? And then Monday is the stud 8 or better, 1500. Okay? And that's a 4-day event. And so then Tuesday is the 10K horse. So this is like, again, they fucked me by, they made a 1500 horse followed by 08 tomorrow. And then on Monday, they made a 1500 stud 8 followed by the 10K horse the next day. I mean, the 1500 stud 8's like the best event of the year. And the 10K horse is probably the second best of the 10Ks. I mean, I can't miss the 1500 stud 8 unless I'm in the Millionaire Maker on day 3.
Yeah, the 1500 stud 8 is a great tournament.
Oh.
I'm sure it's a tough balancing act. So for someone like me who takes a couple weeks off work,
right.
I like having all these mixed tournaments back to back to back. So if I bust the 8 game, then I can hop in the stud 8, and if I bust that, I can go play the 10K horse. But everyone wants bigger stacks and deeper levels. But there's a bunch of other people who, can't take 3 weeks off, or you get these, side events in the local casinos around the country, and people can't play 6-day ones or a 3-day tournament. Like, they need to play a 1-day or a 2-day tournament. So I think it's important to cater to what everyone wants. So I think limiting the 1500s to 3 days, if at all possible, is good. I mean, if you want to stream it at a certain time, have a feature table. Some of the 10Ks go 4 days. You make day 4 of a 10K, you're doing pretty well for yourself.
I'm fine with that.
I think that's okay.
Plus, you could win $400,000. Now, the Stud 8 1500, I think I've never missed it. And looking at the schedule, if I do buy into it, which I will, it's going to be very hard with 10,000 in chips for me to go broke on day one of the Stud 8. I mean, the antes are so small. And yeah, I guess if I start with 1, 2, 3 and hit a 4 and brick off 3 times in a row, out the door I go. But, like somebody who plays like me, it's going to be tough to bust day one. So that brings me to day 2 at 2 o'clock, and the day 2 horse starts at 3. Now, the way it's set up, you could late reg it, and which is fine, but the structures are really good to late reg. So you could, let's just say you get 60,000 in chips, and let's just say I make it all the way through day 2 of the Stud 8. We're going to come back into day 3 with 45 people. And even if I break very late at night of day 2, you could register level 11, which is 2 4,000 blinds, 4 and 8,000 for 90 minutes. Now, that's 6,000 a round, and again, that's 7.5 big bets. So if you have to register a day 2, I got no problem with it with 7.5 bigs, because if you really think about it, and I think you'll agree with me, once you get halfway through day 2, except for maybe a couple stacks, pretty much the entire tournament's sitting around 7 to 10 big bets in limit. You agree?
I think it's a little bit deeper, maybe 12, but yeah, I mean, it's fair.
And maybe because I never had more than 11 in the Stud 8, and I was average chips. I had 7.
I have every confidence you can bust on day 1, Mike.
You think? I don't know. I honestly, I've only busted the Stud 8 on day 1 once, and I mean, it was not very happy. But if I do bust it, I will have the opportunity to play the horse 10K. I just hate missing that 10K horse. It's such a good tournament. God.
It's a great tournament.
It
might be the best limit 10K.
I think it must be. So,
and it gets a great field, too. It always gets a much, much larger field than the other limit 10Ks.
Correct. It does. And that's why I don't want to miss it. Now, the 2 biggest fields in the 10Ks are the horse and the Omaha 8. The Stud 8 is 3rd. So if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, the 10K mix is horse gets the most, followed by Omaha 8, then the Stud 8. So it's definitely a tournament I don't want to miss, and one you don't want to miss. Which makes
I think as long as the 10Ks, the 10K mixes are generally kind of close to each other, and I think you probably want the 1500 event before the 10K.
Well, that's what they've done.
They might go register the 10K.
Right. That's what they've done different this year. Thank God. Remember last year they were running the 10Ks, then running the 1500s, and people are like, you can't do that. You gotta give these people, play the 1500s, let them go on a deep run and say, hey, maybe I could win, and then they jump in the 10K. So at least this year they've put all the small buy-in mixed games before the 10Ks. That was an easy fix. We've been trying to get it fixed for 2 years, so at least they did that. Anyways, I wanted to see what you thought about the schedule. I want everybody out there to know that Eric is truly one of the most fun people to play at the same table with. If you guys think I'm fun to play with, or you think Daniel's fun to play with, they don't hold the candle to my good friend Eric. He is he's a funny guy.
I very much appreciate that, Mike. And I think, going back to you and Phil, maybe, people who are that fun at the table aren't necessarily getting all the credit they deserve. And I don't know that maybe you and Phil gave me all the credit in 2011. I think, you've talked a lot on the podcast about how not enough people give you credit. But I think that can be a good thing at times, because all these people are talking about getting locked out of games, or they don't get invited to the private games.
Right.
People want to play with people who are fun. People want to play with people who they think suck. So if you can, do a bit of advertising and maybe be a splashy banker in a funny T-shirt, you might get a little more action than you normally would.
And the thing is and you do get action, because even back before you improved a lot, whenever you raised, I said, "Oh, he's got nothing." I mean, I would call with like a marginal hand that I would lay down and like everybody pre-flop, but I said, "Oh, it's Eric. He never has anything," and so that's the thing. You use your image of a little bit splashy and a lot of fun, and a lot of people don't take you seriously, and that gets you paid a lot.
You weren't moving too quickly in 2007, unfortunately, with your injury. But when in that 10K horse, when Pescatore two-bet his King 9 all in, and you 3-bet your Ace 6 all in, and then I cold 4 you with guys with jacks out of the small blind. I didn't think you jumped that high out of your chair and got hurt. So you knew I wasn't doing that with air.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, I just want people to know, you don't always have to have a professional poker player on here. Eric plays enough. He enjoys it. He enjoys the game. He has a full-time job. He's, I consider, a great tournament player now. He used to get chips, and he'd get so giddy and run around, and we used to always say, "Oh, Eric's got chips." But, we miss you. We look forward to seeing you on Sunday. I appreciate you doing this interview. Anything you want to plug for yourself, or anything else you want to talk about?
Sure. Well, part of those fun T-shirts, and happy to give you one. But my friend Andy, who lives in Chicago and just played the 1500 horse today, just relaunched our website, nittykitty.com. So we have a bunch of animal-themed poker shirts. And we spend a lot of time on excruciating details, so they're the best we can come up with. So we think people like them, and hopefully we'll be seeing them around the World Series.
That sounds good. nittykitty.com. So if you want to get some cool
we'll trade you a Nitty Kitty T-shirt for the Mouthpiece podcast T-shirt, no problem.
Yeah, Nitty Kitty fits me just about right. Thank you, Eric. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday, and we'll grab dinner and shoot the shit, and we'll go from there, buddy.
Thanks, Mike. It was super great being on the podcast. You do a fantastic job with this, so glad to see you started. Honored to be part of it, and can't wait to see what you'll have coming up.
You got it, buddy. Thanks a lot, buddy. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
I'll see you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
The Mouthpiece.
This is David Gunslinger Bach, and you're listening to The Mouthpiece.
Welcome to The Mouthpiece, Mr. Kevmath. How's it going?
I'm doing great, Mikey. I'm honored to be on the podcast.
And we are honored to have you, so it's mutual. Let's start off like this. I remember when you first started, and you kind of worked hard in the poker world to tweet out things, know where people's tournaments are, and you do a good job of it. I just want to let you know. I've been kind of away from poker since I got injured, but I still follow your tweets, and everybody tweets, and they always say, "Ask Kevmath, he knows the structure, he knows this." So that's really good that people respect you in that way, and I do the same. You became known in the poker industry through tweeting all of the best information in the poker world. How did that start?
That's a really good question. It was just sort of like, I'd sort of been doing this stuff on 2+2 in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And it's sort of like it just sort of grew from there. I mean, it was like I found Twitter in 2000. It was, I think, just before the 2008 World Series of Poker. That's when I officially signed up with Twitter.
Full Tilt made me get Twitter when it first came out. I had no idea what it was. They just said, you've got to tweet things out. The next thing you knew, I had 100,000 followers. So it was in the height of the poker boom. So, okay, so it started there. You downloaded Twitter in 2007. And where did things go from there?
Yeah, it was just like I was just basically, just sort of. It was like like I said, I was sort of doing the same things like I was doing to people would ask me stuff, and I would see threads on 2+2, and I would, they had a question, I would answer, and it kind of, it was like it was kind of a slow process the first year or so, I think.
Right.
And I was just doing my thing. It wasn't like I wasn't really trying to do this.
You did it for the love of the game, is what you did.
Yes.
For. Okay.
Yes, you're explaining it better than I can. I guess.
Right.
And it was like I was doing it for the love of the game. It was like I was doing this stuff for zero, and it was just like it was like for the love of the game. I was like I had always been like involved in customer service in my non-poker career, so it was sort of like I was helping people out, and I was that was my way of my way of being part of the poker community, and I was like. I did this, and it was like, and no one and I guess we'll get to this at some point. It was like no one had ever met me.
Right.
I wasn't actually exactly the most outgoing person.
No, I remember when I first met you. Even I remember when you worked for me and Criminal Chris, and we were with the Deep Stacks. And I remember we brought you on to do some things, and you were still kind of quiet, I can understand a little bit on the shyer side. Now it's like everybody knows you, and it's like, and if it must feel good, that you've it helped change you as a person, doing what you do. So, that's always a plus. I think you're a great guy. I'm glad that you've had success with this. What has been your favorite gig in the poker media industry?
I have to say, to be honest, it's like I like doing the Twitter for the World Series of Poker. I've done this the last 4 years, and I've had, it's been fun being in Vegas in the summer. I would say I did Aussie Millions a couple of times in 2012 and 2014. That was really my.
Did you go? You went to Australia, to Melbourne?
Yes, yep. They flew me out. Those 2 years.
How beautiful is Melbourne? Huh? Isn't it the greatest place ever?
It is an incredible city. I wish I could have spent more time actually doing the sightseeing and stuff, but they were hiring more for the poker. But it was, the people at Crown. You certainly know. You've been there.
Oh man, they treated us so good, man.
Oh yeah, Natasha Stepanoff. She was the one that got me there those 2 years, and. She was the best. It was like she bent over backwards for me, and she did that for a lot of the poker players when she was working at the Crown. And the staff, the tournament staff there is amazing. They run. It's amazing how they can get that. It's basically Aussie Millions is basically a locals event,
right?
And they can get they have this satellite system that runs like 8 months a year. And to get all these players into to play the Aussie Millions fan event. And
when we first started TV poker, the World Poker Tour, I've said it many times. There was 25 of us, then 50 of us, then 75, and like we're going to Reno, we're going on a cruise, or it didn't. The World Poker Tour, it didn't just come out of nowhere, So I always tell people, how hard I worked to build poker the way it is today. How hard you worked in the poker media to help. Where people now, if they want information, they say, tweet Kevmath. He'll give you the answer. And you've worked hard and put yourself in that position. And I'm one of my biggest pet peeves, and I've said it before, and the new generation not respecting the players that came before them. Like before, it was 16 tournaments a year on the World Poker Tour and the World Series. Now there's probably 200 tournaments a day somewhere in the globe. I'm not far off, am I? Maybe more?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more poker. From the start of World Poker Tour, like I said, there's definitely a lot more poker. There's a lot more poker going on around the world than in the past 15 years or so than there was at the start. Basically, like, I mean, I know the World Poker Tour sort of feels like they're the ones that kind of started poker boom, and there's other group that basically the moneymaker win was the official start of poker boom. I mean, it seems to me it was definitely a combination of the two,
right? That
sort of kicked everything off, and I mean, it's sort of like it's not terrible to kind of share credit in a sense,
yeah.
Because I mean, it was like World Poker, it's. I know there was definitely a time when there was basically like a war between the World Poker Tour and the World Series of Poker. I remember when Chris Moneymaker made the final table with Bay 101.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically they didn't mention he was like the World Series of Poker main event champion. It was just he was just he did this thing and he's won $2.5 million and that's it. It wasn't like even recognizing that.
One of the things I look back at, and I remember this day vividly, me and Eric Seidel. We went to eat at I think it was a Korean restaurant right down the street from the Horseshoe. And I said, can you believe this? Another idiot's going to win the World Series of Poker. And I'll never forget, Eric Seidel looked me right in the eye and says, Mike, if this guy wins the World Series of Poker, you are going to be rich beyond your imagination. And you know what? If it wasn't for the other criminal, Ray Bitar, that stole all the money from Full Tilt, I would be rich beyond my imagination, just like everyone else got rich at Full Tilt except me. But, that happens. You can't look back at it. But he was right. A guy named Moneymaker won the World Series of Poker. I thought it was a joke. I didn't know there was a guy who had a last name named Moneymaker. I mean, I was just like, it wasn't the fact that he won his satellite and won the World Series. It was the fact that his last name was Moneymaker. I'll never forget sweating that final table and watching his dad and watching. It was fun to watch, and it ended up, being really great for poker and, great for a lot of people. So touch a little bit about this war on the World Series of Poker and the WPT. This is the first thing I knew about it. My editor, Danny, told me he knew about it. So this is all news to me. So tell me what exactly was going on.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure how much I can actually add to that. I mean, I wasn't really involved. I was more of a poker fan at that point.
But you knew there was a war going on, and I didn't. So what was it? Just a competition, or what was it? What was being said online?
To me, I mean, again, as a person who was not, I was more a poker fan. I wasn't really in the poker media in the mid 2000s,
right?
To be honest, but it was like I said, like I would watch, like I was watching that particular final table where Chris Moneymaker was at, and it was just like basically just that. I don't think they mentioned. It was just like Chris Moneymaker was just a guy, and he won this big amount of money, and it's sort of like people give Steve Lipscomb the credit for the poker boom, and like I said, other people like basically said it's like Chris Moneymaker, and like you were saying, if the guy's name was like Tony Smith or something, some generic name,
everything would have been different. I think we would have had the poker boom. We would have, but you know what? We would have had the poker. The WPT would have got a lot more credit. And like, if you listen to my podcast with Mike Sexton, we touch on that a lot. How the World Poker Tour was never given the credit it deserved for the poker boom. The poker boom would have happened anyways. It just wouldn't have gone from 803 players the year Moneymaker won to 2,300 the next year to 5,600 the next year to 7,000 the next year. That's what wouldn't have happened. Now, I think the boom would have happened. It would have just took an extra couple of years. That's my opinion. I'm going to touch on this with you. What are your core ideas how to better promote the game through social media and beyond?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, to be honest, it's like there's definitely times when I'm tweeting things and I'm wondering if people actually read my tweets. A big problem that I have is I guess I tend to tweet too much, which can be a problem.
I don't think so. I read your tweets. The thing you do probably tweet too much about, but I think it's good because you reach out to all the spectrums, from a $10,000 event to a $200 event. I think that's good if people are following you. You know, I don't pay attention to any of the small buyer events because I'm not involved, would never play them. But I think that's good. I don't think you really tweet too much. You know,
I guess there's probably ways I could probably be better at social media, like especially on Twitter, because I don't really use any of the other. I don't use Facebook or Instagram. Those things aren't really for me. That's more of a visual thing.
Me neither.
In my opinion, and it's more like I'm just people want information from me. You know, I know you're more willing to give your opinion on a variety of topics, and that's great. And I have no issue with that. I personally, for myself, people aren't coming to me asking about politics.
Right.
I don't like tweeting about politics. I don't like discussing.
And it's smart.
And it is a smart way, because it's sort of like you give an opinion, and there's the other side is always going to be like, stick to poker, stuff like that.
What made you such a big poker fan when you first started?
It was just something that I kind of liked, and it wasn't like playing home games like in the basement or anything like that. It was just like something that I kind of like got attached to, and I just started following it, and then just sort of like it just sort of grew from there. It was just like I was following it. I was like, I liked it, and then it was like people were asking about stuff, and it just sort of like I mean I started really following poker in the rec.gambling.poker days in the late 1990s, and then it's just sort of it grew from there to 2+2, and then grew from Twitter, and it was kind of a really slow process to get to the point where I'm a quote poker celebrity and I'm being interviewed by you on your podcast. It definitely wasn't. I wasn't extraordinary. I never expected to get the level of admiration and respect that I receive these days. It wasn't really the idea when I started really following poker. It was just I felt it was this sort of excitement about following the game and watching those ESPN broadcasts and watching the WPTs and people asking about stuff, and it was like something I was like, it was like this one thing I'm never going to be. I'm always going to be the recreational player that most of the poker community is. They're very recreational. They're playing for fun. They're not trying to be a pro.
Yep.
And I mean, and it's just like it was my way to help them out. It was a way to help the pros out, and it's just so weird that like right now I'm here in Vegas. I'm in my room at the Rio.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm like it's kind of weird that I'm doing this. It's just
are they paying you, and you get the room for free? Well, that's great.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean,
that's awesome, man.
I've been this is the fourth year I've done this for the World Series. They pay me. I make decent money. They pay for my room here.
Perfect.
I get the media food vouchers. They take care of me very well here. And,
that's great.
And it was like one of these things. Like, I mean, like I said, this is my fourth year doing this for the World Series of Poker. It's like 2015, like when I was working for Bluff Magazine, and then like the day after,
I remember that magazine. Casey Thompson.
The day after
no, that was the other one. Yeah, All In was Casey Thompson. Yeah, I remember Bluff.
Yeah.
Bluff's pretty big in Europe, right? That magazine still.
Well, they're actually separate from the Bluff in the United States. So
okay.
What happened was, I worked for Bluff two separate times. So the first time I was working for Bluff, it was basically 2010, so just after the 2011 World Series of Poker. They went through Black Friday, and we were kind of limping along there. And I was there. That was my first time in Vegas for the summer in 2011, and I felt like I was like really good at what I was doing. And then I realized that I was a shitty poker news. I was a shitty reporter, and I basically got humbled during that summer. It was like reporting wasn't really my thing. It was like the Twitter stuff. And other
we've all been humbled. We've all had a piece of humbled pie.
Yes.
I have probably eaten the biggest piece of humble pie in the whole poker world, which it's good and bad. I look at things. I look back at things. What I could have done differently, and so the bitching days for me are well, I'll still throw a little bitch in there because that's what poker players do. They bitch. So I'm a big proponent. I'm against day 2 reentries. During the World Series, I think because they're running 3 tournaments at the same time, I think you should be able to late reg 6 levels. 6 levels is way more than enough. If you're still in another tournament after 6 levels, you'll just have to miss that tournament and go to the one the next day or the 2. There's also another one every day. I don't know if you heard about this. So last year, guy bet $10,000 he could late reg the pot limit Omaha and cash it, and he did without playing a hand.
Yeah, I mean, like, if the event that's starting at 11 or 12, and they have a dinner break after level 6, I think, ending late registration when players return for dinner break seems like a reasonable,
absolutely,
a reasonable thing for most events. Now, for the main event this year is the first time they're doing.
Yes. Oh my God, I am such. What you're about to say, I am so against that. Every podcast I bring it up. People being able to buy in day 2 at the main event is a disgrace. It is a complete blow to the integrity of the main event. Not only do you get to buy in on day 2 if you want, you get to buy in on day 2 with 100 big blinds. What's your opinion?
I don't have as big an issue of people registering for day 2 of the main event than you do. I mean, I certainly understand your point. Especially I think some people have issues. It feels like it gives the pros more of an edge because the pros are more likely to show up on day 2. Like you said, you're going to have you have like 100 big blinds if you just decide to max late reg on day 2C with 100 big blinds.
Right.
I mean, I think it would be better if there was less late registration and there was less re-entry events.
Right.
I don't have it if there's events that have 2 flights. I don't if there's next day re-entry. Like if you play 1A and bust and you want to play 1B.
No, on the smaller buy-ins, I don't mind that either. I'm with you on that.
Right. No. Yeah, I agree.
So what? I asked Savage this, and I'll ask you this: what you talk to a lot of people. Why do people want more chips? Now, he said he has to give more chips because if not, the place down the street is running the same tournament and giving 20,000 more chips, even though we both know it's the same exact thing. What is it that you've heard from people why they want so many chips?
Well, I'm sure Matt discussed this with you. He doesn't feel happy about basically the phenomenon of awarding more chips. It's basically like people feel that the more chips they have, the more chances they can, if they play a hand badly, maybe they don't lose the entire set. If they had let's say instead of 50,000 chips, they had 10,000 chips. They feel that they can make one mistake and then still have a chance.
Right.
And so if they lose the 10,000 chips in the hand, they're done. And it's like they feel they didn't get the value that they paid for it, and so they feel like more chips is more. It's basically they feel the more chips you have, the better value it is. But I'm sure Matt told you, it's more it's more the structure of the tournament than the number of chips. He said, he could create a great structure for a tournament that starts with 300 chips.
Right. And the thing is I tell people the story too. When it was chip for chip all the way up until I think 2007, maybe, 2007 is when they gave a little more. But so it was always chip for chip. But in reality, when it was chip for chip, it was the exact same thing. But psychologically, they thought they were short. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely see that. It's basically, like you said, it's basically, I think people just envision having more chips as having more opportunities. And, like I said, if they lose 10%, if they have a 50,000 chip stack and they lose 2,500, it's not a big hit. But, if they had 10,000 chip stack and lost 2,500, they're under pressure and you got to make moves that they probably would have made if they had won those chips and not lost them.
Right. So with that in mind, I got one more question for you. So here it comes. Can you reveal your best sources for inside poker information?
Wow. So is it, you mean like as a person in general, or just like a website?
Well, it just seems like you always get all the information before anybody else.
I mean,
or is everybody else just that stupid?
I have to. I mean, to be honest, and I would say there's definitely a lot of people. It's like when I answer a lot of WSP questions, I'm going to the WSP.com site. You know, for this year, it's WSP.com/2019. You can basically go there, and but I would say 90% of the questions that people ask, I just go there and just give them the link and go from there.
Right.
I mean, I think there's definitely just people just don't understand where information is, and it's kind of like I keep, you know, like I sort of mentioned earlier, it's like I keep answering the same questions. It's like if people went to my timeline, I basically answered their question already. At some point in that 24-hour period, it's like, where's the what's the structure sheet for this event, or how long is late registration, or stuff like that. It's kind of one of the things that kind of annoys me.
I don't blame
you about what I do. It's because I'm giving you this. I'm giving you the tool. You should give people the tools of where to go.
Poker players are lazy. I watch Twitter and I watch people say they have a question about a tournament, and the next thing I see that comes up afterwards, it says, tweet Kevmath. He knows the answer. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that on Twitter. And basically, you're right. That's poker players just being too lazy to look it up themselves. And they just figure, listen, you're a nice guy. You work hard. Don't let people take advantage of you. You know that. And that's what a lot of people are doing when they do that. You answer a lot of people's questions. I have tremendous respect for that. And you know what? You're a great guy. You're a good person. Listen, if you've answered it twice already, you're not an asshole if you don't answer it again. My answer would be, look at my timeline, bitch. That's what I would be saying. But, hey, listen, I love everything you've done for poker. I remember when I first met you, and you've come a long ways. You've worked hard to put yourself in the position you're in the poker world. The poker world really cares a lot about you. When I found out that you won a Platinum Pass, I didn't even know what a Platinum Pass was. I had to look it up. I was very happy that PokerStars did that for you, and you're well-deserved. And I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for the poker world.
Thank you very much. And that is one of the things that I really like about doing this job in the summer. It's like I'll several times a day, people will come up to me and thank me for what I do, and that's really one of the things that I really love about this job. It's just, I'm just, if no one ever, it's nice to get the positive feedback that, people are actually reading your stuff and they're taking the information to heart. And it's like, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to do, this is my way. It's, I'm never going to be a great poker player. I know that. This is my one way to contribute to the game, to something that I love so much. And I'm thankful that, that you asked me to be on the podcast. I'm flattered that you wanted to have me on the podcast, and like I said, I'm extremely honored to be a guest.
Well,
on the Mouthpiece.
I'm glad you're here, and I'm not just saying it from me. I appreciate it. When you say what you said, it feels good when people come up to you. I know where you're feeling from, because me dealing with all the negativity of the health issues, the full tilt issues, the venom between me and Daniel for 3 years, and then starting the podcast, and it's a weekend of the World Series, and so many people coming up to me saying, you have the greatest podcast in poker. I love the podcast. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. There's not a podcast goes by I don't listen to. That means a lot to me. So I understand exactly how you feel. All the top poker players have tremendous respect for what you do in the poker world, and they all appreciate it. I've heard them say it, and so that should make you feel happy in itself. So I appreciate the interview, and thank you for coming on. and go back to work. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care. Thank you so much. Peace.
No problem. Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
The Mouthpiece.
I hope you enjoyed episode 12 of The Mouthpiece. And if you're listening to this episode, hopefully I'm still in the Omaha 8 or Better tournament. If I'm not in, next week's episode will be very depressing if I don't jump out a window. So tune in to The Mouthpiece next week. Search my channel, Mike the Mouth, at youtube.com, and you will be able to get daily video vlog updates from all tournaments I'm in. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of The Mouthpiece. There's going to be a lot of live footage from the World Series of Poker. Week number 1 comes to an end tomorrow, and hopefully I get my first bracelet 3 days from now. We'll talk to y'all later on The Mouthpiece. See you soon.